Spank that ass with a blade of grass, make sure no gas pass. It smells good too. It smells real nice. Give it a few slaps. Delicious, delicious. Can't wait to see the final product. Hey everyone, Max here, and welcome to Cooking with Max. And I'm about 5 years late to the sourdough phenomenon that plagued all of our kitchens during COVID. It was something that was really important for me to learn how to do. So I've been making sourdough over the last 2 months. Part of that process is discarding your sourdough starter so you can consistently feed it. I've been making things like crackers with it. I have a huge amount of discard here, and I found a recipe that will allow me to take the discarded sourdough and make a quick version of some sourdough sandwich bread. So I'm gonna be making that today. Let's see how this works out, and let's get going. So the ingredients I will list off, but this is essentially what you're gonna need. You're gonna need, obviously, at least 100 grams of your sourdough discard. You're gonna need some sugar, all-purpose flour. I'm gonna also use a little bit of whole wheat flour in there as well. Room temperature butter, and then some active dry yeast. And we're gonna mix all these things together and see what we can do to make some dope sandwich bread. All right, so the recipe does call for instant yeast, but since I'm not using instant, I'm using active dry yeast. We have to activate it. So I took 100 grams of water. You're gonna wanna invest in kitchen scale like this. I took 100 grams of water, about 110 degrees. I'm gonna mix that dry yeast in there for now and let that sit for about 30 minutes to get that activated. All right, so I'm just using some Red Star yeast. The other thing we wanna do is make sure that the temperature is somewhat warm. So I'm using this thermometer here. It's warm enough. We're about 85 degrees. You kind of want it to be around 100 degrees. So mix that yeast in, and we'll be back in about 30 minutes. Okay, while the yeast is doing its thing for 30 minutes, we're gonna add all of the rest of our ingredients to get started. We're gonna add 100 grams of that sourdough starter, unfed. So let's get 100 grams in the bowl. Ooh. So we have our sourdough starter. The next thing we want to do is 500 grams of either all-purpose flour or bread flour. In this case, I'm going to use 400 grams of all-purpose flour and 100 grams of organic whole wheat. All right, 400 grams and then 100 grams. So we want to add 150 grams of water here. So tar this out. All right, 150 grams of water. All right, so now I have my yeast chilling out for about 30 minutes in the 100-degree water. I have the rest of the ingredients chilling out for about 30 minutes, which is the flour, the water, and the sourdough starter. I'm gonna give those a quick spin with just a simple spoon, and then we'll let them sit for about half an hour. Now remember, we're gonna add more water to this, so this isn't the full amount, but we're gonna wait for that yeast to get going, so I'm just stirring this up. Look at that. It's just kind of forming a shaggy mess right now, and we'll get back at you in about, well, 30 minutes. See you then. All right, it's been about 30 minutes since we mixed just the flour, the water. I'm gonna add the yeast that was sitting in the rest of the water. So in total, it should be about 250 grams of water. And we're just gonna give this a little mix. I don't know what you call this, shaggy mess there. But yeah, we're gonna get that stirred. I'm just using a basic spoon here. You can even use your hand, get your hand a little wet there and just kind of toss the flour. So I'll show you the end result. Keep it from sticking to all the dough. So far, so good. All right, so now we're gonna add the rest of our ingredients. So that's gonna be 60 grams of, well, that's butter. It's gonna be room temperature. So I had to let it sit outside for a little bit to get it to that point. So we're gonna add that to our mix. There we go. And then we're gonna add 10 grams of salt, and I'm just using straight up Morton, regular ass table salt. Put that in our mix. And then we want to use 60 grams of just granulated salt. So I'm going to dump that in there. Now, if you're using instant yeast, now would be the time to put that in. But since I had to use dry yeast and activate it first, I included that when I added the rest of the water. And now what we're going to do is knead. So if you're using like a KitchenAid or something, put that on the hook, let that do its thing for about 3 to 6 minutes. I don't have the luxury of having a KitchenAid. I think somebody stole mine. But I'm just gonna knead this by hand, so check it out. Right now I'm gonna stop the tape and then show you after the knead is done. All right, so I'm kneading the dough. It's a good forearm workout. So also, just as another example of something you can do to get your physical fitness on while you bake, knead the dough. Get them forearms jacked. Boom, baby. Again, don't come at me if this isn't the proper way to knead the dough, but doing the best I can. It smells good too. It smells real nice. Can't wait to see the final product. Give it a few slaps. Oh yeah. Delicious. Delicious. Ooh. Them gums, baby. Gotta love it. Gotta love it. All right, so we did our knead for about 6 minutes, and I got this nice little loaf going here. And the next step is we're going to let it rise for about an hour. So we want to see this double in size. So if you have a warm house, you can just let it sit, but mine's a little bit cooler, so we're going to take it to the oven here. And we're going to just pop it in the oven with the light on. This is some sourdough starter I've been working on here, but we're gonna take this nice bread dough, plop that in there, and we're gonna set our timer for 1 hour.
1 hour later.
All right, it's been about 1 hour, so we're gonna check on that dough, and I put it in the oven with the light on just to give it a little bit of heat so it can expand and explode, and it should be doubled by now, so let's take a look here. Popping this out the oven. Look at that. That is looking pretty good. Look at that. Look at that. Wow. That is definitely doubled. So while that was inside of the oven proofing for about an hour, I actually took this tin and I swabbed it with a bunch of butter. And that's what we're going to be baking the bread in. So next step is to get this thing sorted so we can put it into the pan here, okay? Now that we have our dough, we're going to empty this out. So the directions call for us to flip this directly onto the board or on your counter so the sticky side is up. What we want to do there is now we want to form this into like a little bit of a rectangle. So just going to spread this out, keeping it flat on the board, giving it kind of a nice rectangular shape here. It's nice and elasticity. It's got nice elasticity to it. It's nice and elastic. Okay, now the next thing we want to do is roll this. We want to roll it halfway after we've gotten kind of that length on there. And now we want to roll this bad boy. Roll this nice and tight. Now, I was told that we're supposed to kind of like elongate it a little bit as we kind of roll this down. So now we got this nice taut little bun here. And you want the seam side facing down, okay? Hopefully that caught it, but here's the final product. Next thing we're gonna do is take this seam side down and we're gonna just drop this into the bucket. Okay, now we have the loaf in the pan. We're gonna put this back in the oven, again, just with the light on for another hour. And we're gonna want to see that rise over the ridge of the pan. So, okay, cool. So now we let that sit in the oven for another hour with just the light on. We'll come back, we'll take a look, then it's baking time.
1 hour later.
All right, it's been about an hour and change since we put the bread inside of the oven with just the light on, let it proof. Let's see what it looks like now. Wow, look at that. See how the bread is popping up over the top there? That's what you want to see. So now that we have that rock and roll, that looks awesome. We're gonna preheat the oven. Okay, now preheat the oven at 350 for about 10 minutes or so. Then we're gonna bake this thing off for about 40-45 minutes until it's golden brown at the top. Make sure you leave room for that oven spring to happen. So forgive me and my cupboards being open too. That just happens when I cook in my kitchen. It gets wild. All right, so the oven's preheated to 350. We have our dough. It's already been proofed. Let me shut one of these. The last step is you want to take some clean water in a spray bottle. You can see the loaf here. And we're just going to give it a quick spritz right over the top. Just a little bit of love, okay? All right, now we're popping this bad boy into the oven for that 40 to 45 minute window. All right, come on to me. Ooh. Pop that right there. All right, that top is nice and golden brown. It's popped off pretty good. We got a nice little oven spring there and it smells amazing. Let's take it out and let it rest on the cutting board and we'll let that cool down. The final and finished product of our sourdough loaf. This is all made from discard and this thing is quite a beauty. This is gonna make some amazing sandwich bread. Nice and fluffy and yeah, it looks awesome. The final stage is to enjoy some of this bread. I've actually cut a couple slices of the bread here and I'm just gonna make a very simple peanut butter and honey sandwich and I'll let you know how it tastes. Bread's still soft and warm. I'm gonna throw a little honey on there. Slap the other slice down. It's still warm. It's so warm and super fluffy. Oh damn. That texture's out of this world. I have so much discard, I think I'll do this again. I think it's easier than the country loaf. Give this a try, let me know what you guys think. Post some stuff in the comments if you think there's anything I could be doing differently, but this turned out awesome. Good baking, good luck out there. Peace.